Yeah. Black magic.
You got to know, got to show.
All right, Ryan here from RATG TV, and I am sitting here with the legendary Rags Morales. Sir, how are you today?
I'm good, thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Now, we're here at Hamilton Comic-Con. What brings you way down over here, or way up here?
My agent.
Are we having a talk with your agent after this is over?
They needed a spot to fill, and I don't know, they wanted me, so I'm glad to be back. It's been like 10 years since I've been in Canada. I was Toronto.
Nice.
Twice, a couple of times.
Fan Expo.
Yep. And that was always very nice. And but now I'm back again.
Nice. So, is it true what they say about us Canadians? Are we overly nice?
Well,
until you get in traffic.
Yard or me, so that's nice. Yeah.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
Now, you've had a storied career already. You're still young, but
I am.
But you've been in this business for a long, long time, and you've penned them all.
Yes.
I know this is like asking a favorite child, but do you have a favorite piece of work you've done?
All of them were great for their own personal reasons. Their own personality. Everyone has a great personality,
See, I can tell you're in Canada. You're giving us the NHL answer.
There you go.
It's a team effort.
Yes,
Everybody on the team did a good job.
That's it.
Amazing. Well, we talked a little bit earlier about it. One of the most influential stories, at least in my time, one of my favorite stories of all time, is also one of the most controversial stories since Kyle Rayner's wife being stuck in a refrigerator, and that's Identity Crisis.
Yeah.
Now, can you give us a little bit of background on Identity Crisis for those who haven't read the story, and why there was so much heat there?
Well, it was very adult.
It was.
It crossed the line between our childhood from the 80s, those of us who remember the 80s, and the characters that were being done then, and how we took that basic era of the JLA and brought it back to a very heady, emotional, adult storyline, and it was absolutely a linchpin to a lot of the things that happened after.
Oh, exactly.
Since 2004 when it came out. So,
and the repercussions are still being felt even in Rebirth.
Yeah,
we're still talking about this.
Yeah.
Where did the idea? Now, I know you were the artist on there, and you wrote with. You did it with the great Brad Metzler, who does amazing books. The I Am books out right now are some of the greatest learning books out there right now. I Am Martin Luther King, and
he's doing an I Am Gandhi for comic books.
Right. Wow.
Yeah.
Amazing. One of my favorite writers out there, bar none. Now, but when you're working with a writer like that, how much influence do you have over the story?
I have every influence over the. We are directors to a movie,
right?
So we get the screenplay. It's up to us to set the angles and the cameras and the lighting and the costumes and the special effects and everything else that goes into it. So
right.
We have, essentially it's ours. It's a shared story, but through the eyes of the artist.
Nice.
As it's inspired by the writer.
Right. Okay. Now, did you have any say in which characters we're going to use? Because we were using some obscure characters here. I'm a huge Ralph and Sue Dibney fan, the Elongated Man, and even more so, my favorite Robin was featured in this story as well, Tim Drake, who I think is the only one that should take over for Batman. I'm just saying, the only true detective. Such a nerd. But what kind of influence did you have? Were you able to go with Brad with this, or did he come to you at all and say, look, we're looking at using Sue and even Ray Palmer and his wife?
It was all wrapped up and ready to go by the time I was brought on board. The first thing Brad did was give me a hug, which is really,
right.
It was a super secret meeting in the DC offices. And it was really clandestine, because when I went in there, it was just like they were ushering me through certain corridors I'd never been before.
Right.
It was really kind of weird.
They gave you the Julie Swartz tunnel.
Well, of my 28 years, 19 was spent with DC. So even then, even though it was 2004 and my career started in '89, I've been there long enough that you don't have to, put a shroud around me and hustle me through the crowd. It wasn't like that. It was weird, but it was in a special secret conference room. And the first thing Brad did was give me a hug, which was, he says, "Hey, I'm Jewish, is what we do." And he hugged me. And so So that was it. But no, I had zero input, really.
Really?
Honestly. I mean, occasionally Brad's script was so tight
Right.
and so specific because he had a complete vision. I was very little directing that really needed to be done by me. But occasionally I would add a little touch here and there,
Right.
just something, just a little spit polish to sell the idea.
Like the Slipknot scene with Wonder Woman?
Well, no. I'm not adding elements. I'm not adding any plot devices. Everything's already said. No. Those things are already put in there, but how you present it.
Right, exactly.
And Brad lauds a lot of the things that I had done that he didn't anticipate. In page 1, it was the scene of Ralph Dibny, but you don't get to see his face.
Right.
The hands in front wasn't written. I put that in there, and he loved that. He loved the focus on the eye of Tim Drake.
Right.
As he's being held by Batman after his father is assassinated.
By Captain Boomerang.
Both bleeding out on the floor at the time. He loved that. I did the scene where Elongated Man first comes upon his wife. That was a different angle.
Right.
So I changed the angle on that. So there are little things
and even
here
the
and there.
service where Ralph was trying to speak about his wife, and you see him not being able to control himself like that. Just there was no words there, and just the feelings you conveyed with your art there was, like I said, it choked me up reading it then. It still chokes me up reading it now. I've never really had that with a comic book until now. So. And
the twitching nose was my idea. I actually had to call Brad on that because I said, Brad, I want to twitch his nose here as his face is melting. And he goes, why would you want to do that? I says, well, it was part of the question at the beginning of the story. Does he do it on purpose or does he not?
Right.
And
Green Arrow's got a bald spot.
I wanted to answer that question, sort of,
Which you did.
And so when he loses control, it's involuntary. I think it is. He says, just don't make it look stupid.
Right.
I said, all right.
Which you did not. You nailed this book. Like I said, it's my all-time favorite storyline ever. But it is very controversial because of the Sue Dibny rape scene with Dr. Light. It's
implied.
It's implied. But your artwork really heavily implies it as well, with the rip pants and everything else. But did you... that must have been the thing that you guys got the most hassle about in those heat afterwards.
Well, she's a beautiful character,
Yeah.
And when you
it's
see
a beautiful couple.
She's a beautiful couple. Yeah, exactly. Beautiful couple, beautiful character. She's flawless. And, we spat on her grave, essentially. And that's what it gets people pissed off when you do that. Can you say off?
You can say anything on our show. This is live stream, so we do it all. You can drop the F-bomb if you want, and we usually do.
All right.
But, so we get through all that. And it came up to a lot of mixed review and everything, but it still has gone down as one of the greatest stories of all time. But from there, where do you move on from there? Like, I know you've done Action Comics. You had a big run on Action. Was it with the Rebirth?
52.
52, New 52, right. Which I love the look of Clark here with the jeans and the T-shirt. It was a great look. Very reminiscent of Smallville.
Well, there are certain things that are iconic when it comes to characters that are part of the language we speak. And I got a call from, I think it was Matt Idelson, my editor, who says, listen, Grant wants to do this thing with Superman, and he wants it to look this way. We don't know what it's going to look like. Could you draw it for us? And I did what's become pretty much a trademark now of the run for when he was holding up the boulder and he's like half in shadow.
Yes, yeah.
And this way, all you focus on is basically the clothing, not on the face, and you see the clothing and the cape and everything. I says, well, I think it should look like this because part of the language you spoke, one of the terms used in our language is Al Cap. So I saw right off the bat, I saw Little Abner,
right,
and that was a template that I could have used that works.
Perfect.
And so that's the inspiration behind my approach to drawing him in jeans and a T-shirt. And I added the patch.
Everybody loved it. Like it was like that's one that I'm still hearing people talk about. They still want to see more of that now, which I don't know how you get back to it now.
Yeah, I don't know that you can.
There's some crazy stuff going on right now in DC.
Writers are pretty clever. They could always do an homage at some point.
So what do you have going on right now?
Currently, I'm working with Claudio Sanchez, lead singer and guitarist of Coheed and Cambria.
Oh, wow. Okay.
He's got a publishing company called Evil Inc. and a comic book called Emery Wars.
Oh, okay.
If you know anything about their music, it's all a long epic tale,
Okay.
and we're doing it in comic book form.
Oh, wow.
And it's called Good Apollo on Burning Star 4. And it's out now. The first issues are already out. They're going to collect it in a trade, from what I understand, an Ultimate Edition as well.
Nice.
And so that's what I currently have going on.
Hey, did they come to you with this, or did you know them? Or?
I got at the time, my then fiance walked in my studio and said, "You've got some emails from Coheed and Cambria who want you to do their comic." And she's a millennial. I'm not. I'm Generation X.
Yeah, that's me. That's us.
And so she says, "Yeah, this Coheed and Cambria." I said, Coffee and Quaaludes? Who? I never heard of these people.
Kofi Faye? Is that the Trump thing, right?
No, that was way later. But for years I couldn't remember their names. I was so terrible. I'm an old man, you know. Yeah. So when they came out, and apparently they have like some 10 albums out or something like that.
Right.
So this was my first impression of them, and I checked out their music. It's phenomenal music.
Nice.
I mean, they're a fantastic band, and I became a fan with them after that. But I really, at the time, I didn't know. But she was like, "Oh yeah, you want to do this one?" I says, "I don't know. You sure? Yeah, you want to do this one?" I was with DC, very professional outfit, and these guys are independent. So I was a little concerned about that, but they were great. They treated me very well. They still do.
And DC's pretty good with you guys going out and working independent stuff as well,
if
right?
I'm not under exclusive contract, I can do whatever I want.
Exactly. Because you do see that. Like I remember a time in the late '90s where we're seeing Grant, working in DC on All-Star Superman. Then next, he's doing all new X-Men.
Right.
So because everybody's friends, right?
Yeah.
As much as your competition, everybody knows everybody.
One of the eye-awakening things is walking through the DC offices and hearing how DC and Marvel trade comics. They trade off comics to each other. So you walk and you'll see a Marvel comp there, just sitting there, So they show each other what we're doing, just to make sure.
And every once in a while you get that nod in Marvel to DC where they'll throw Clark Kent and Lois Lane into a background of a picture,
right,
which they've been doing since the '60s. And I think they just did last year again. So, But absolutely amazing. And so we can look for that. And the name of the comic was again?
Amory Wars.
Amory Wars. All right. So look for that, folks. We're here with the great Rags Morales from DC Comics and everywhere else. Thanks so much for this. It has been an absolute pleasure. Thank you, sir. Thanks.
Black magic. You got to know.